Hi guys. Yeah, so I just as technically this is a whole new room to when I did this, so I wanted to do my backstory. So I was born in 1984, and my mum went into the women's hospital in Birmingham to have me. And I spent the first 8 years of my life in the women's hospital and the children's hospital because of my condition. So my condition is spina bifida hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is water on the brain. So everybody, your brain creates something called CSF fluid, and everybody's CSF fluid drains away through your veins and pipes in your neck. Unfortunately, I wasn't born with these were not developed properly, or they didn't work, or I don't know all the ins and outs, but they did it didn't drain away. So basically, when I was born with a hole in my back, which is why I can't walk. And to be able to walk, or no, to be able to survive that, my surgeon as a baby, I had to fill my back with putty type stuff and put the nerve endings and all the tendons in my back. So when I was born, my back was my back was open, and everybody else's spine is like that. You've got your two columns of spine, and yours knits in perfectly. Mine, you have like kind of an open area in between. So that was healed by a surgery. And then it also this water on the brain. I had to have a little tube called a shunt put into my brain, which went from my brain to my stomach, and then that enabled me to have the drainage of the fluid away. If I didn't do that, either operation, I would have died, because you can't have too much pressure on your brain. And they did the operation to enable me to survive with my back, because if they just left me, I would have died. And that's why I can't walk, because they had to cut the tendons. So because of my disability, back in the early 80s, or in the early 80s, they didn't integrate disabled people with able-bodied people. So I went to a specialist school. At my specialist school, I went to Chadgrove School in Bromsgrove. And I spent I spent my whole life there. In that school, you go from department to department, which is in different parts of the building. So you've got your nursery, you've got your primary, your first, up until your senior, just in different parts of the school. It basically was geared around basically the provision of not being in mainstream. So I actually did I didn't, because it was a special school, my school did not provide any meaningful qualifications. So I didn't do GCSEs at school, because I was not able to, because they didn't provide it, because there was lots of other disabilities in that school that didn't have the capacity to do GCSEs. So I was behind. So I left school. I went to a mainstream college. I went to a disabled a college for the disabled, which enabled me to learn life skills of how to cope with my disability, but also how they put me through basic I can't think a BTEC national diploma with a I went through my GCSE grade GCSE ICT, which I got a grade C in, which enabled me to get into university. So so that what got me into university, but I also had to do, I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up here. So I went to school. I then went to the college for the disabled, where I did bare basics. It wasn't worth the thing it was written on, the paper it was written on. I had to go to mainstream to do my GCSE in ICT. But while I was at the college for the disabled, I was very liked, and I was voted in as the entertainment officer on the student union. So I was given the opportunity to do the entertainment for people that couldn't get into town because they were all various disabilities again, but they mainly one-to-ones. So it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere. It was farmland at the time. And nobody could get into town because it was too expensive, but also they needed one-to-one support. So we had events on site. So I literally was given, so much money to do events. It wasn't enough because it cost £150 per night back then to put on events, and so I just gave them the money back and said, look, forget it. I will do the money. Give me 3 months money worth of what I'm asking for, and I will buy the equipment and become my DJ. I would become a DJ and do it myself. And that's where my passion was born. I then went to the mainstream college to do the GCSE. I went to university, which subsequently I failed because I got something called cellulitis, which means that it's an inflammation of the skin, which rendered me bedbound. So I couldn't go into the classroom, couldn't complete the work because I wasn't being taught in the traditional way. I've got to be in the room to actually learn. They were sending me things via email, but it just wasn't enough. So prior to going to the college, prior to going to university, I went to a care home for the disabled. Now I wanted to stay in Cheltenham or in Gloucestershire because that's where my friends were. So I stayed in Cheltenham, and because I wanted to go clubbing with my friends and things. So while because I also had a house in Cheltenham after this college for the disabled. So that was my base, and now unfortunately, I've had to come back to Bromsgrove, which is 10 minutes from my parents' house because I grew up around here, because the tube in my head stopped working, and I basically fell out of bed in Cheltenham, and this is why I kind of like it was touch and go 10 years ago. I had to have another brain operation, and I've had this pioneering surgery where I now don't have this tube going from my. They've basically, and I'm sorry for anybody that's squeamish, they've basically drilled a hole in the base of my skull, going down to my spinal cord, and now my CSF fluid runs like yours. So back to my to the business. So I took the passion of the school of helping at the college, and I went to the Prince's Trust, and the Prince's Trust gave me put me on a course, and they gave me the business acumen to run a business. They also funded me to get my first equipment. So I set up my business in 2013 to be a DJ effectively. And then after the first 2 or 3 years, I started to realize that I was just doing it for free, but I was bringing in other services to help that event happen. So singers, bands, photographers, etc. And it was just nice to help. 2017 came. I turned my business into a limited company, because I was actually brought in under oath and questioned why my bank account had so much money in. I had so much money in because I was doing it through a personal account, because I didn't know how to run things. But I have all these expenses, my driver, my tax, my insurance, etc. But they didn't realize that. They don't look at that. They look at the headline figure. So because I'm on benefits at the time, well, I'm still on benefits, but I do things properly now. They brought me under oath. I told them the situation. They threw it out within 10 minutes. I was like, what? That, just look into it there. It would have been easier just to give me a phone call, but they decided to go the whole hog. So be it. That was in 2017. 2020, as we all know, everything went down the pan because of the pandemic. It gave me a chance to hit the pause button. I realized, because I went online, it gave me a networking opportunity to reach the whole of the UK. I now have turned that into helping people organize entertainment for their special events anywhere in the country. But in the pandemic, I couldn't just sit there and just watch my business do absolutely nothing. I also created it was called Party in a Box. It's now called Party. Well, it's now just a product in my business, and that's party boxes themed, obviously. And it was a massive thing. It sold £500 worth of merch, £500 worth of boxes in the first 6 months. So that is a whistle-stop tour of me and my backstory. I'm sorry, I don't know how long I've got left, but any questions?